Now, guys, here is the list for the top 5 fan votes. So we had Caitlin Clark, who led the fan vote with 700,000 votes. Then we had Aaliyah Boston, second in total fan votes. Asia Wilson was right after that. Brianna Stewart after that, and Angel Reese was in the top 5. So this is fan voting, which is only one piece of the of voting. Okay, so fan votes. This is how it was: 700,000, 735 for Caitlin, Aaliyah, 618,680, Angel Reese, 300,081 votes. All right, 381,518 votes. So it would have been a lot cleaner for the WNBA to not have included the Olympians in the vote to begin with, because that's what complicated things, and that's what made stuff a bit confusing, because people were voting for Olympic players, and it didn't make a ton of sense. It didn't make a ton of sense. So yeah. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. Again, if it doesn't, let me know in the chat and I can try to clarify. Rachel says, do you think they should take top 10 after excluding Olympians? They should have, but they did not. I think that would have been cleaner, but they did not. They chose not to do that. All right. Nola says voting with the Jess and email is easy to spam vote. They need to change the process. I mean, the point of this process for the fan vote, the whole point is to get fans heavily involved. And so if you make it really, really easy for fans to vote, that means they'll try to vote every single day. And that means that ultimately when the selections get made, they're going to be way more in tune about figuring out the player they voted for, did they actually make the roster? And they'll be more likely to watch the All Star game. So it actually makes sense that they allow it to be so easy to vote, because of course they want a lot of people to vote and vote every single day, because as you do that, you get more and more and more and more invested into the All Star game in general. Okay. So it does make sense. It does make sense why they did it the way that they did it, in my opinion, at least. Now, if you all are wondering, that's quite a lot of fan votes from this year. How did that compare to last year? Well, glad you asked, because here is the top 5 All Star votes for fan voting. Fan voting. Remember, this is fan voting only. From last year to this year. And last year, Asia Wilson was the top vote getter for the fan vote, and she swept the field. She swept the field with a 95,000 votes. And that doesn't even come close to cracking the top 5 for this year. All right, because this year Caitlin Clark was the top vote getter at 700,000. So that is a massive, massive jump in fan votes from last year to this year, and it's kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome to see. Asia Wilson was the top vote getter last year with 95,000. This year, she is the third top vote getter with 607,000 votes, and it's just kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy to see like an astronomical jump from last year to this year. And voting last year was the same. Voting last year, they sent you email reminders, and that's how you can vote. You can vote every single day. Like, voting was similar last year. All right, voting was similar last year. And so the difference in a lot of ways is, fan interest has gotten a lot higher from last year to this year. And yeah, for sure, PV. Caitlin Clark is a huge part of that. I mean, she's a huge part in more people kind of getting out the vote, and it helped everybody. Look at everyone's numbers. Again, top 5 last year was Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Brittany Griner, Aaliyah Boston, and Jackie Young. And this year it was Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Angel Reese. So NOLA, they did not make that publicly available, so I don't know. I don't have the breakdown for how the players voted. I don't have the breakdown of how the coaches. Well, I mean, ultimately we do know how the coach. Ultimately we know that the final players on the list is because of the coach's vote after it was whittled down to that 36 player list. And so I don't know how those votes went. So yeah. Um, if someone has a link to where that's available, I've scoured the internet, and I don't see anything. I don't see anywhere where they have publicly put out which coaches voted for who, and what players voted for who, and what media voted for who. All right, so that's kind of the situation, okay? 50% fan vote, 25% player vote, 25% national media vote. That made a list. Top 10 of those of the vote getters who were not on the Olympics automatically made Team WNBA. The other 36 were compiled into a list, and the coaches voted, ultimately selected the players who made the final roster for Team WNBA. Okay, so that is kind of how everything all worked out. And if you all are wondering, wait, wasn't isn't De'Erica Hamby on Team USA? And I would say yes, that is correct. De'Erica Hamby is on Team USA for 3x3, not for 5-on-5. So only the 5-on-5 Olympians will be playing for Team USA. The others will be playing for Team WNBA. The others meaning the 3x3 players. All right. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And now I do want us to go player by player and talk about some of the players who made this All-Star team. I'm going to tell you like how they've been doing this year, and ultimately why I think they were selected for the All-Star game. And as we go through this list, if y'all have specific comments about certain players, let me know in the chat. Also, if y'all could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, that would be absolutely fan freaking tastic. Really does help the channel out a whole lot when you all hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Again, guys, the All-Star game is happening July 20th in Phoenix, Arizona at the Footprint Center, which is home to the Phoenix Mercury, who have won the WNBA championship 3 times. And this game is going to be on ABC. The game starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Time. And this is going to be part of a whole weekend, a whole All-Star weekend, where we're going to see a 3-point contest. We're going to see a skills challenge. The 3-point contest and a skills challenge will happen that Friday on July the 19th. So July the 19th, we have 3-point contest, skills contest. And then that Saturday, we will have the All-Star game. Okay. And also, guys, the All-Star game is sold out. So if y'all want tickets, y'all have to buy it on the resale market, though there are still tickets available for the 3-point contest and the skills challenge. All right. Eddie V says, wonder how big the ratings will be. I mean, I think the ratings are going to be huge. I think the ratings are going to be huge for this All-Star game. It's for sure going to break numbers. It's for, like, everything this year is breaking numbers. I'm sure it's going to break numbers. Con Lenny says, according to DraftKings, it's a 630% increase in All-Star voting from a year ago. Wow. That is that is crazy awesome. Doug is asking who is in the 3-point contest. We do not know. We do not know who's in the 3-point contest. Unfortunately, for the WNBA tends to announce that stuff way closer to the actual All-Star break. So we do not know ultimately who will be on the 3-point contest, and also who will be participating in the skills challenge. Okay. That's something that we likely will not know until I'm assuming probably a week before. hopefully the WNBA gets to a point where they announce that stuff a lot sooner, because I think it's pretty important for people to know, especially if they want to buy tickets, to know who's actually going to be participating.